Welcome to the GTP, where we talk all things manga. And my guest today is none other than the Daniel Peppers. He is host of the Daniel Peppers YouTube channel, which focuses on anime and manga. And what I love about Daniel is just so often when I'm going through his videos, when I'm listening to him, I just start deeply thinking more about manga, life in general, than I ever expected. And I was just so grateful for this opportunity. So, Daniel, welcome to the show.
Hey man, you said I felt good. I was like, man, you're right. All right, cool, man. Way to start it off. Let's do it. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Daniel, before we get started, one thing I love to ask as a first question, just to get to know, for the audience to get to know you better, and for me as well, as I love to hear, when you were growing up, would you mind just sharing with us what was your perfect Saturday? How would you describe your perfect Saturday growing up?
Perfect Saturday. I would say I've always been like a morning person because I don't know. There's something about the morning, right? Like you feel like if you get up before everyone in your house, you kind of have that time to yourself. So I'd get up early and then make cereal. It was Fruity Pebbles, but it was in a mixing bowl. Like it was way more Fruity Pebbles than a person should eat. But I was eating it. I was a child. I snuck in to the cabinets. And it was more I watched. Do you remember? You might have watched this. Kids WB, or like four kids that had like Yu-Gi-Oh, Jackie Chan Adventures. That
Yeah.
was like my perfect like Saturday morning. I still like Jackie Chan Adventures. Like I still think it was. I think it holds up. I haven't watched it in a few years, but I feel like it holds up.
Yes, my family's very poor, so we didn't have cable TV. So I was watching the same thing on Saturday because there was not many options.
Yeah, you had like four channels, and you were like, listen, you got to like one of the four. That's your choice. That's where we're at.
So when we started, and we talked about just how you're hosting your YouTube channel, would you mind being able to share with us what drew you to manga, and how has that influenced you and your creativity?
Um, so I grew up with the Toonami anime, like the Dragon Ball Z, the Sailor Moon, the Zoids, and things like that. But I never gravitated towards manga because I wasn't a big reader. You know, my sister was the reader, and anytime I would ask for a book, she would like throw me like, "No, you can't read." So reading was not for me. But I moved in with a buddy of mine, and he's a big anime guy. Like he got me back into anime at the age I am now. And I had bought the Dragon Ball Z box set it had sat on my shelf for like years because I watched it growing up, and I didn't want to rewatch the anime because they scream for a lot of episodes. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yes.
like, I don't have time. I'm an adult. They scream for too many episodes. But I thought reading the manga because it moves quicker. The pace is quicker than that. And I just finally, after moving in with him and getting back into anime when like the My Hero Academia and all that stuff was coming on, I started picking up the Dragon Ball Z box set, and then I just really enjoyed the pacing and the art and all that. And then I've pretty much pot committed at this point with my manga. So I just dove headfirst after that, after reading that box set. But when you the influence, like their creativity, I think without manga, I wouldn't have started a YouTube channel, to be honest with you. Like if I wouldn't have gotten into this hobby, or like randomly bought that box set and let it sit there for years and then pick it up and read it, I would have never started the YouTube channel. And like now I feel like, even though we kind of talked about it, some videos in the manga community doesn't do well, but I still feel like the creative freedom of being able to do any video around manga. And I wouldn't have that creativity if I would have never started reading it in the first place. You know what I mean?
That actually, for me, it was My Hero Academia, and I started watching the anime during COVID, and I was like, "Oh, this is really
Mm-hmm.
good. This isn't what I remember." Because, like you said, Dragon Ball Z, it's 5
Yeah.
episodes for phase one of a battle, and you're like, "Come on, man!"
Dude, Goku's listen, he's gotta get it all in there. He's gotta scream. Uh, man, My Hero Academia is so interesting, right? Because I think when we are going to talk about like 10 years from now, I think My Hero Academia is more influential than like people currently give it credit for getting new people into manga and anime, because it hit so perfectly in the superhero boom of everything. You know what I mean? And you are not the only person I've talked to where like My Hero Academia like got them into everything. I think it's going to be super, whether, you know, you like it or not, that's a whole other thing, but I think it's very influential talking about currently new people getting into anime and manga for sure.
Oh, 100%. So you share Dragon Ball Z. Is there another, can you share, is there another specific series that's had just an impact on you profoundly? And then just curious, how's that shaped you just with your life and then through storytelling through YouTube?
Um, I actually I brought, hold on, wait. I brought some. See, Bakuman. Bakuman was one of the first series when I started collecting manga. I got the box set and I knew nothing about this series. I know it has an anime, but I never watched it. And this and then 20th Century Boys, which is behind me, were the two because I grew up in that shonen of, you know, you just think anime and manga is like, hey, I'm gonna punch that guy. You know what I mean? Like that's what you think it is. And then to read these two stories that I think are so profound in a lot of ways that I started to realize what manga and anime in a way, but really what manga could be storytelling wise. It's not just power fantasy and stuff like that. Like it opened, you know, that there are different genres that I didn't know. I know other people probably knew, but I didn't know at the time when I read them. And I just think those two stories, man, Bakuman and 20th Century Boys, are stellar. I just the way just the way those two stories kind of, one with Bakuman, I didn't know anything about manga, and whether it's 100% accurate, it gives you that dive into Shonen Jump and like being a manga creator, and then you feel like, oh, this is what, you know, you start realizing the schedules that manga artists have and all that stuff and the love that they have for it, and it just makes you appreciate the art form so much more. When I got done reading that series,
100%. I haven't read Bakuman. I have the box set, of course, but haven't opened it. 20th Century Boys is one of my favorite manga of all time. I
I
believe it
agree.
made number two on my list. It reminded me of, I don't know if you ever watched the show Lost back in the day, but
Yeah, yes
I
sir,
have
yes
flash
sir.
forwards, I have flash
Oh,
back, I have present. I have no idea what's going on, and I could not put it down.
yes, I agree. I think like, and I think 20th Century Boys, man, it it would be hard to animate it. So it's one of those series that I feel like is always going to stay in manga form because of the structure of its story. Like it would be so hard to do all of those flashes in animation and people understand what's going on. Like I think you could get lost so easy and it works so well in like written form. I love 20th Century Boys. I agree with you that it's a fantastic series.
So, one thing I love about you, Daniel, is just you're very outside the box, where other YouTubers are actually looking at your content and it's help them be more creative and then help push them to think outside the box when they make videos. And I even appreciate seeing where others are even giving credit to your videos for some of the videos that they've been doing. Would you be able to share what is some of your creative process, or do you just, have a dream in the middle of the night? You're like, oh, that'd be a great video, or is it, on a jogger? What's part of your creative process? Because I love how your channel is so unique compared to so many others that talk about manga.
I really appreciate that. Man, to be honest with you, I think a lot of it is I really like talking about like what's going on with everything, like the manga YouTube scene or manga in general. And to be honest with you, I get the ideas because I don't know, I keep up with all like the news and everything's in it. And then I just kind of sit there and if I have questions or I have thoughts on a certain thing, right? Like the video that Manga Sloth like talked about, right? Why are people selling their manga collection or something? I titled it something like that. Um, I figured if I have those thoughts, someone else has to have that same thought. And I kind of I hope I hope I do an okay job at this, but like I kind of would like those videos to be like people comment and kind of be a place where people can talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of how I go about like thinking of ideas. Because if you know, if you watch any of my videos, like I ramble a lot. But I hope that I can kind of craft something where people can kind of go to and talk about the stuff that's like going on in manga YouTube or manga in general. And that's kind of how I come up with the ideas, is just kind of keeping current with what's going on.
So for those who may someday be watching your content, like, oh, this must be so easy. I could turn on a and create a manga channel and edit videos. Um, what to you
Yeah.
what to you is some of the most important aspects to having a
Fair.
YouTube channel?
Well, I think the most important aspect is like to be entertaining, right? At least for my channel. Like I know some channel they do it very well, is to like be informational. Like they want to do reviews or do deep dives into things, and they want to be like very informational and entertaining at the same time, but that aspect. If you go way back, like done a lot, but if you go way back, I try to script some things out, but that just I feel too robotic when I do that. And so I was just like, if this does work, it's just gonna have to be me kind of going, like having a few ideas, but kind of going for it. And so being entertaining is definitely the number one. And number two is I kind of hope with my YouTube channel, like where I don't know. I guess everybody wants this, but a place that either you get to watch me go through things. Like I have a series like where I read like shojo, all shojo in a week, or I did one like about BL and stuff like that. I kind of want it to be a place you kind of have no idea what I'm going to upload. You know what I mean? Like there's an air of like,
There's a
one,
surprise.
why did he upload this?
Yeah.
Two,
There's a
yeah,
surprise
it's like a
element.
surprise. It's a surprise gift. Who knows what I'm going to think of? But that's the fun part about it, because I think that's like we kind of talked about like creativity and stuff like that. I think it, for me at least, if it's very formulaic, I would get bored with it. And then with me recording a video, I feel like people would not be into it because I'm not even into it. You know what I mean? Like, so if I just keep throwing out different random things, I know at least like the people that watch it enjoy whatever I'm doing. And that to me is kind of way more important than big number get bigger, if that makes sense.
Totally. I guess as I'm hearing you speak, one thing is I think this sounds important to you, and something you may be trying to convey to your audience is to be curious.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I think the second we all, it's a little different, but we all have like doubts within ourselves. I don't think there's a person alive that doesn't doubt themselves one way or another. But I think maybe as we grow up or something, sometimes I know this is for me for sure. And it kind of goes into it. You might want to cut this. It kind of goes into another one of your questions. I don't know if you want me to like go into it or wait for that question.
You what we can do is we can always I just want to ask that question.
Okay, great. All right.
So behind the scenes,
But
everyone, I might send questions ahead of time to the
yeah,
person, to the
I
guest.
yeah, they might not know that. Oh no, I'm sorry.
But
Oh,
this
you
right
got
now
that
was
right.
not a question. This is completely off the cuff.
Oh no. But I feel like I'm nailing it. See, this is why I told if you did it earlier, you might regret this halfway through that you've asked me to do this.
His answers
But
are not
I
scripted,
feel
folks.
like when people no, absolutely not. I should have probably. That would probably be better. But I think that people when they doubt themselves, like if I would have gone back like 2 years ago, 3 years ago before I did my YouTube channel, the one thing that I would have told myself is like, dude, you waited way too long. Like you just because you keep talking yourself out of it. And I think that's the biggest thing of like if you have an idea, if you have a thought, it doesn't even have to be YouTube related. If you have anything, I think that you owe it to yourself to at least go as far as you're comfortable with going. Like because you never know what it would lead to. Like me picking up a camera one day, doing a horrible manga collection video. It's the first video on my channel. It's 5 minutes long. It is absolute. It's bad. But it led us to having this conversation. You know what I mean? And like meeting new people, and also getting out of my comfort zone, because I get nervous about anything and everything all the time. Uh, I hide it very well by rambling. I know what you're saying. You're right. I do. It's great, but yeah, I think that if you have this drive to do something, I think you should at least go as far as you're comfortable with going. And I guess being curious, like you said, that is my biggest thing. And that's what I try to convey a lot of times when I do videos, like behind the scenes videos or something like that. Like when I talk about that kind of stuff.
So this question I'm going to ask you is unscripted, so you don't have to answer it
Oh, great.
if you don't
Right.
want if you don't want to. What would
I'm
you
at your mercy.
say, Daniel? What
Let's
would
do
you
it.
say to someone that has so much anxiety it's holding them back from a dream or something they want to try? How would you encourage that person?
So I want to say, like, kind of similar to what I just talked about. Like you should go as far as you're comfortable. But I know a lot of people say that, and even I have, like, because you watch people, or you're scrolling through a feed and you get like motivational stuff, and sometimes you're like, all right, listen, man, you have no idea, like you are just, it's a whole other thing, but like you kind of don't understand what I'm going through, right? So I guess I would say, of like, if you have super bad anxiety, I think whatever thing you've thought of in your head, right? Like the worst case scenario, because I am even with this thing that we're doing right now, right? I think of 17 different scenarios of like, my camera's not going to work, my audio's not going to work. I'm going to somehow show up shirtless and it's going to be weird. Like, whoa, like why is he even doing that? That's odd. Uh but um but you play out all these scenarios in your head, and I guarantee you 99.9% of the time, those worst case scenarios is not what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And I think that if you're running those scenarios in your head and it's stopping you and it's making you miserable, like it's making you so sad about something, either way, like even if the worst case scenario happened, you're still going to be sad that it happened. You're already sad that you're not chasing this dream. At least go for that, because you might be sad, but at least you're like, gave it a shot. You know what I mean? Like, even if it doesn't work out, like you at least gave it a shot. So I think talking yourself out of it and running these imaginary scenarios is more harmful than just as hard as it's going to be. You at least give it, again, as far as you're comfortable in going. And
Hmm.
sometimes you're uncomfortable in going, and at least you can say, I tried it. Because I think, at least I can only speak from my experience, like doing like YouTube or talking to you or talking to anybody, I can at least say that even if I still get anxiety or still like get nervous about doing stuff, I'm so happy that we're having this conversation right now. Like that I have videos on the internet. Like, because it gives me so much joy that the worst case anxiety stuff is not even like, it's at this point the good outweighs the bad.
So for those who are only listening to the audio, not the video, Daniel did wear a shirt, so you do
I
not have
did.
to worry about that fear. There is a shirt on. One thing you reminded me, Daniel, is this is what I tell myself. I don't know if this is helpful. Is I rather go to bat, swing and miss, than to sit on the plate and never try.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. 100%. Like that's a great analogy. The Wayne Gretzky thing, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, if you've ever heard that, like all that stuff. And I know it can be tough, right? Like I know it can be tough if you're in the throes of like anxiety and talking yourself out of it. You're like, they just still don't understand. We're both saying this. Like it's worth swinging. It's worth giving it a shot,
Right? Because you're gonna have
because
anxiety anyways.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the anxiety doesn't go away. it's still here. So at least, at least like the self doubt also kind of goes away. You know what I mean? Because you at least tried it. You're like, the anxiety's still here. That's forever. But at least I gave it a shot.
So, Daniel, I'd love to know what video have you made that you're the most proud of? So it doesn't necessarily have to have the most views, but what would you say through your creativity outside the box? What
Sure.
what video are you most proud of, and maybe you would even encourage others to check out?
I would say like it's cheating a little bit. It's a series of videos. Like I spent a week like when I read Shoujo and then I did one with BL. Those are some of my favorite. Just because I think I would feel hypocritical if I would make videos, right? Of like step out of your comfort zone. As you can see, like I like shonen stuff, but like I'm making all these videos, but you still see videos of me talking about shonen. So I really like those videos of me going into a genre that I know nothing about and kind of I hope at least it feels like you're going on this journey as I'm reading like it's usually like 6 to 7 volumes of a genre. I really like that series. And then I did one that's just a behind the scenes thing about YouTube videos. I forgot what I titled it, but it's me. If you find a thumbnail of me looking weird holding a camera, that's the one. You also do YouTube stuff. I think a lot, especially in like the manga YouTube, you don't see a lot of behind the scenes stuff because, like you said, and I totally understand this. People are like, it's not going to do well because a lot of people maybe or maybe not, but subscribe because they like the manga haul stuff of it, or they're just a fan of the manga medium in general. So people are not going to put their effort, and especially doing like behind the scenes stuff. It's a lot more editing. It's a lot more thinking like, okay, how can I frame this shot and do this? So people are not, you're putting way more time instead of like a manga haul or a manga shopping vlog or whatever, it may be, even a review. Um, so people, but I think it's still so interesting because a lot of people that subscribe and like manga content on YouTube also want to do manga content on YouTube.
Yes.
And I don't think there's enough of like behind the scenes. And on top of that, I mean, and you might disagree, you might agree, but I think when you start a channel, you really want it to you want people to enjoy watching you or watching me or whatever like yourself. It's less about, oh, I'm going to click on this video because he's talking about like can Goku beat, I don't know, meteor or whatever it may be. You want it to be about you, like, oh, I really like what they're doing, I like their take on a lot of things. It doesn't really matter what they upload, and that's kind of what you want a YouTube channel to grow to, or at least what I do. I can't speak for you, obviously, but that's kind of
I
where I'm at.
I no, I agree. I think you know this on YouTube, at least from my experiences. It does not take me long to record and edit a haul video, and I know it's going to do well. But
Right.
I love doing manga reviews, and they take a long time
Mm-hmm.
to read, write a script, really think through it, and even edit. And I know they're not
Yeah.
going to do well, but I'm very passionate about sharing a different perspective, and because of that, I continue to do them anyways. And even though it's a slower building that
Right.
community, I think people, you and I know what videos we could make all the time
Yeah.
to, if I really wanted to boost views up and get subscribers really fast. But I think like you, I resonate with, the community I'm trying to build. I'm looking for people who are also
100.
passionate about things I'm passionate about.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. And I think that can be tough as well of and that goes kind of back into the anxiety thing of, you're real passionate about reviews, and sometimes you sit there and you're like, I really like this series, right? I really want to do this review, but then something in the back of your head's like, why would you spend all this time when you know it's gonna get sub 100? But then that's when you have to kick it out and be like, no, I'm gonna keep doing it because sooner or later it's gonna find it. I at least have to believe that it's gonna find its audience. And I think you'll be so much happier, and I would be happier if you do stuff you want to do, because you can only put on, I think, like put it on, like turn it on and like act a certain way or do something because you're like, this will get views. if you're just yourself, it makes making videos so much easier because you don't have to like put on makeup and put on, your thing and like dance around and not be yourself. You know what I mean? Like you can just make videos that you enjoy. And I have to believe that it'll find its audience one day, and that's why like you get the 10 out of 10 and you're like, I work so hard. Like 10 out of 10, it's at least a 7.
What's
You know what I mean? Like I get it. It's not a 1 out of 10, but it's got to be a 7.
So for our viewers who don't know, 10 out of 10 means that YouTube is so kind to let you know on analytics how well your video is doing against your other 10 videos and how many hours it's spent. So
Oh yeah.
your favorite video YouTuber will make, it may say it's in last place out of its last 10 videos, and it's trying to hint to you that maybe your audience doesn't like this, and maybe you should do more of what's your number
Yeah. Yeah.
closest to number one.
It does. But then that's when you tell it, you're like, no, 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 nah, not me. I'm gonna keep going. I have actually, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but I have had an 8 out of 10, and then like a month later, it shoots up to like, like a 2 out of 10. And that's one of the best feelings in the world.
So Daniel, I'm curious, over 230 videos later in the last 2 years, which is an amazing feat to have
It's
that much in only 2 years.
yeah, amazing. I hear you.
Uh,
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Right. Okay.
So knowing all that you know now and your infinite wisdom of 230 videos, what would you tell your past self if you could go back into the past before you hit record for the first video?
Dude, why'd you take so long? To be honest, like that would be the first thing of like you should have done this a while ago. Cause again, we already talked along about it, but like talking yourself out of stuff. But I think honestly, I would tell him you're gonna figure it out. That's what I would tell him. Like stop again, like getting in your own head. Like stuff's gonna go wrong. I've had videos where I've recorded the whole thing and then something has messed up and you're like, well, that's absolutely unsalvageable. Like you can't save it. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna learn so much along the way, even if you have a kind of grasp about video or anything, stuff is going to happen. You know what I mean? And I think I would just like, hey man, just breathe, just relax. You're gonna figure it out. Like you're gonna suck. It's gonna be, some of your videos are gonna be horrible. It's gonna be absolute garbage. But you learned this one thing on this video, and then you took it this way, and then because I feel like right now, I obviously want to continue making like better and better videos. But there are some videos on that channel that I legitimately know without a doubt it was the best I could do at that exact moment, you know? And that's probably what I would tell myself. Like, dude, it's gonna be all right. Like, just relax.
I love that. I'm sure we all at one point recorded without realizing it was muted and we had no audio. And you're like,
Mhm.
oh, this was
Yep.
fabulous. Let me edit this. And you're like, oh
Yeah.
no.
Yep. Oh, I've done that. There's been times because I was trying to really up my game, right? So I started trying to record in like a color log, which is, again, if people don't know, it's like it apparently makes grading color. It's supposed to be this thing. I couldn't figure it out, and it was just like a gray looking video. And I said, you know what? I'm not. Nope, can't do it. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But yes, I have done a bunch of those things of like audio. Oh, you didn't press record on the audio? Very smart, very cool decision for me to do. And it's, but that stuff's gonna happen. And I think too, and I think you could definitely like speak to this too. It's like I I think if you don't have a love for it, those little things would build up and it'll make you not want to do it. But I think if you're genuinely excited and love doing it, and I feel like you're doing it for like the right reasons, those little bumps in the road are not going to deter you. Like if anything, it's going to be like, okay, I know never to do that again. And you take it as that lesson and then you just bring it to all your other stuff going forward.
So what advice would you give? Now let's go now to manga collecting.
Okay.
I know you have many things on your channel about this already, but what advice would you give for someone who is looking to collect manga?
They're going to reprint manga. like, hey, just whoa, like, you know what I mean? Like, because I did the same thing of like, oh, they're never gonna print some of this stuff again. You know what I? And you go out, and I think I did it, and I just like you kind of overextend yourself, and you're just like, I want all this stuff. Like I've just learned about this hobby, or this community. Because I know, like, I've talked to a lot of people, like in my comments and stuff like that, where they really like the community aspect, so it got them kind of into collecting manga. So the very key and very, I think, most important advice is collect at a pace that is comfortable to you, because especially now where I think like manga sales are going very good, popular series, you can kind of know a series now at this point, because we've been doing it a long time. You can kind of know like that series is going to get reprinted. You know what I'm like? That one's definitely going to be around. That one's probably going to get a box set. Now there are some that you're like, no one's really talking about this. Maybe you pick up those, like the more, it might not get as many reprints, but the Chainsaw Mans, the Jujutsu Kaisens, they're gonna be around for a long time. And don't let the excitedness of this hobby just overextend what you're comfortable like financially doing it. Because I think that I've seen like people on YouTube where you're like, maybe not, like, you know what I mean? Like maybe they went too hard too fast. And I've done it too. I look back at some of my other manga haul videos, and I'm like, man, listen, did you really need to do like 150 volumes like that month? Like you needed that? You needed all of them at the same
Well,
time?
what if they all of a sudden got reprinted at the same time?
It's true. You never know. That's what I'm saying. You're right.
Or Right Stuff
But that,
gave
I think
six
that is the
months to partial ship your order, and now you went from 30
that's
volumes a month to now you might have done a haul of over 200.
man. So that's happened to you. So you've lived that life where because you've like done a bunch of orders, and all of a sudden you're like, they must have got a big restock because I just got charged a ton of money from Right Stuff from these orders that I've placed a year and a half ago. I hear you. So we've been there together. It's a team. Great.
That's good. Go
Good to
go
know I'm
team.
not alone. Go team.
So Daniel, moving back into content creation, how do you handle criticism? Because one thing I notice about you, and I could be wrong, but you really seem to wear your heart on your sleeve. So how do you handle criticism while also staying true to your own voice?
I think you can tell, right? I think you can tell if someone's commenting on a video. You can kind of tell if they're just being like, I genuinely like what you're doing, but maybe you missed the boat on this topic. Like if it's a constructive criticism, you could tell. Or you can also tell when you're like, oh, this person just wants to get at you, you know? And I think the biggest key of keeping like true to myself, at least, is differentiating where someone wants to have a conversation about like a topic I talked about. That I absolutely think is the one thing that I enjoy doing on YouTube is, again, crafting a place like, let's have a conversation. Because I think if everyone agreed, dude, we'd be in like this echo chamber of stuff. That's no fun. But having a constructive conversation and then just reading the comments where you're like, they're just trying to poke at you. I just don't pay attention to it because, and I'm sure if you've had this too, like you can have 15, man, love this idea. Man, this is such a cool thing. This is great. You get that one comment of like, you suck. You're like, I am going to think about this comment all the time, constantly. It outweighs all those good. You're like, yeah, all right, great. You suck. Well, day is ruined. Fantastic. So for me, I just got to be like, dude, I'm not even thinking about it. And then obviously, if someone wants to have a conversation, differing opinions, I'm all for that for sure. I think that's fun because that's how you learn, and that's how you know become, I don't know, like that's how you enjoy this art form. I think is, if you for me, if you if you read the same stuff over and over and over again and at least didn't try other things, I don't know, it would seem boring to me. Like, just for me though.
No, that I think that's fantastic. Is, you know, with that criticism is, you know, is, you know, ask yourself, is there a grain of truth to this? You know, is it, can I have a
Yeah.
conversation with them? Is something I can reflect on? And some things you're like, no, they're just completely off, or
Yeah.
you know, they might be crazy.
Yeah, or or you never know, man. Like, because I've done like a lot of customer service jobs and stuff. Sometimes I'm telling you this, you got the person going in there, they got something going on, and they have decided it is you they're taking it out on. And that's just, I mean, you can't do anything with it. And you just kind of have to accept it. And it sucks that they're decided to do that. But you just can't, I don't know, like I just can't engage with it because they're not even really mad at you. They're probably mad at something that happened yesterday.
Right.
You
And
know what I mean? And they've
there's
just
nothing you
decided
there's nothing you can
that
change
guy.
from that.
That guy looks like he's having
Someone tells
yeah,
me
that guy's having a
your
good
yeah,
time.
someone tells me your face sucks. I'm like, well, I can't really do anything about that.
What do you want me to do? Like, I didn't like that your shirt was green. I don't know. What can I do with this? I guess I can go into Premiere and change the color because you didn't like it. I apologize.
So I want to segue to that and just say, you know, the manga community is so vast and passionate. How do you view
Mhm.
the role of manga fandom and how it's shaping the industry, and how do you view the role in supporting YouTube creators?
I think the fandom like shaping the industry, right? I think we're seeing it a lot now. Like, we got the Trigun Deluxe editions announced. Like, if you're talking about like shaping the industry like that, where I think that a fandom can, because there was like the manga boom in like 2020, 2019, 2020, 2021, and they're seeing how much, because they're a corporation, so they're about money. Like, there's no way around that. But I think the fandoms are showing it now of like, you're getting this series reprinted, you're getting this series in a deluxe edition. And I think the fandom is most definitely shaping the industry in the sense of what older series and what newer series are getting, a good manga edition or good treatment in physical, releases. Um,
Who would
and
ever thought
as
Initial D?
creators,
I was gonna say, whoever thought Initial D would be reprinted?
man, let me tell you, I have a buddy that is so excited about Initial D coming back because he cannot, because the singles are incredibly impossible to find. And I sent him this over Discord, and I think he's still excited. I think he might still be screaming. If we listen real close, we probably could hear him. Like, he's that excited about it. So I think fandoms, man, dude, I think there can be fandoms that can drive creators like off YouTube. Like, there's no way around that. I think if you pick a series that is rabid fandom, and you want to, and maybe you don't nail like exactly what you're trying to say, because there's always been stuff that anybody talks about that you're like, actually I didn't mean it that way, but you put it on video and that's how they took it, and they turn on you. It can be overwhelming, especially for newer creators. You know what I mean? Like, if you're just starting, and like, even like myself has been like doing it for like 2 years, like, if you have a whole 10,000, 20,000, if they go to your video and just dislike it because you said something about whatever it may be, whatever series it may be, that can be soul crushing in the worst possible way, because you just have all this hate coming toward you, and you're like, I wasn't even saying it was bad. I was just like,
And the
maybe
algorithm,
Goku Super Saiyan 4 wasn't too good. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
Like, maybe that's what I'm saying.
the algorithm will
Uh,
keep pushing it then, even if it's a dislike, because someone interacted with your video. So the algorithm's like, oh,
100%.
we can get you more dislikes. Watch this video so you can dislike it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And there's nothing like seeing, I have one video, I can't remember exactly what video of it, but like seeing, tens of thousands of views, right? And usually I don't know about you, but like usually you stay at like 95%, like to dislike ratio, 98, somewhere in that general direction. But when you see like 15% like to dislike ratio is different. Dude, it hits different. Like it is, you're like, oh, I have done something. But you're right. Like that's the worst part about it too, right? Is it's getting interactions, the wrong kind. So it's getting pushed out to more people. So they're just dogpiling on this dislike. And especially if it's randomly one of your first videos and you get a ton of dislikes, would you want to upload? You know what I mean? Like you're like, wow, this YouTube looks like it sucks. Like I'm not gonna do this because the algorithm is working for you but against you at the same time. And I think that's one of the hardest, like nerve-wracking and hardest things, especially anime or manga, like because people that like stuff, there's some people that really like stuff, and boy, they will defend it, and it can be scary and like aggravating. I don't know. Like I don't even know if I would, like, I don't know, mentally, I don't know if you could come, like, I don't know, it'd be tough to come back from like just thousands of comments being like you're the worst. Tough.
Well, luckily you can turn those off, as well as it will flag when you get those
True.
comments. So when the few times I do get comments of horrible things I didn't think you could put together, luckily YouTube flags it so my audience doesn't see it
Yeah.
beforehand, and I can choose
That
to remove it. Is there
okay.
any
Oh,
what would be some positives, Mr. Peppers, that you would see with the manga fandom for YouTubers?
uh kind of the opposite of what we just talked about is like I'll use me as an example because I know me.
I hope you
I
know. I hope you know
really,
you.
yeah, well, somebody let me sometimes. But I really started doing a lot of videos about One Piece, like reading through One Piece, right? And I really, thankfully, and you hear One Piece and you're like, you were just talking about fandoms that like attack people. It didn't happen. Like I didn't have a lot of videos like blow up, like like 10,000 or something like that. But they were so welcoming that it had the opposite effect on me. I was like, they're so cool and so excited that like I'm reading through one of their favorite series. It makes you want to do more videos. So it's such a double-edged sword of, if a fandom connects with you, it feels so good. But if they turn on you, it feels so cold, dark, and alone. Like there is no middle ground. So that's one, I guess, positive and negative. But also, I really like it, and I'm sure you've had this too. If you do a manga haul and a new series, or you pick up a new series, if people are fans of that series and they leave comments of like, dude, I can't wait for you to read it. Like I feel like I kind of like know your taste. Like you're gonna really love it. That moves that manga like very much ahead on my to be read list. You know what I mean? Like when you have someone that comments, like a fan of that title comment, it can also help you find stuff of like, oh, maybe I should read that. Or like a recommendation, like, hey, I see in your collection you don't have this series. So fandoms can help you find manga series that maybe you didn't know you would enjoy
Oh,
too.
majority of the manga I read is because someone asked me to read it or do a review of it for my channel. And majority of the series I bought, this offended somebody, so I apologize if you're still following my channel. I don't mean to offend you, but they did not like the idea that majority of my manga I bought is because someone recommended it to me, not something that I decided on my own.
Man, I got your back. Hold on. I got you. No, let's not do that. No, I think that's such a cool idea though. Like, because have you found like a lot of series that you super enjoy because of it?
I found things I never thought I'd dip my toes in, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Right
And
now I'm reading
that's
Blue Giant right now, which I thoroughly have enjoyed, and that's not,
I really want to
another
read it.
one was recommended was Blue Period, which is about art. I didn't know a bunch about art, and it ended up
Mhm.
becoming one of my favorite series.
All right. Yeah.
So just
Blue Giant. I really wanted to check out because it's like a music, like it's saxophone.
Yes.
saxophone he's playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did want to check it out because I heard it's really good. But yeah, I think that's a cool idea. Like, because like you said, if you were picking your own manga and you weren't doing recommendations, you would have never found a lot of series that you, again, like you said, it's some of your favorite series ever. So I don't agree with that. You know what? I don't agree with that person's comment. I got your back. I don't agree with
Well,
that person's comment.
well, thank you. Where were you 2 years ago?
But I don't, probably doing a YouTube video or something. I don't know.
So I think that's a good segue to ask. What are some lesser known manga works that you believe do deserve more recognition, or things that you've enjoyed that you wish more people would talk about?
Okay, I have two. I've again brought to show the class. One is not lesser known, but I don't hear enough people talk about it, but I've done videos on it. Silver Spoon. Look at that cow. That cow's having a great time. So is that guy. I love this series, man. It's like a farming thing, and like I grew up in like farm type area, so it really resonated with me, Slice of life. Maybe you've heard. Have you Silver Spoon?
I have not read it, but I've had it recommended a couple times.
Yeah. Silver Spoon's good. And then Go with the Cloud North by Northwest. This is it takes place in Iceland, and he's kind of like a private detective, but it's more of a slice of life. The art is fantastic. The cover, it's like a satiny, very nice. But it also has a really good story with these brothers. The bummer about this series is the author takes about 18 months to release a volume physically. So there's only 5 volumes, and his, good for him. But like, yeah, the art's great, and it's like set in Iceland, slice of life, detective-y, really complicated, good relationship with the brothers. I super enjoy this series.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. I always love knowing more recommendations, and again, just seeing a different perspective. Those are two that I have not had recommended from any other manga tubers or viewers. A couple of people have talked about Silver Spoon, but I really appreciate that. And the last one I've read a synopsis, but now I'm gonna go check it out. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Like I said, it is a little slow, but I think that it's one of those series that if you let it sit with you, it's really, I don't know, it's something special. But like I said, you're in no rush. He takes 18 months to do a volume, so you got time. You got.
So Daniel, before we wrap up our time, is there anything else you'd like to let our listeners know?
I mean, we covered it. We went all over the place. We've been on a journey together through this interview. But I mean, just to echo like what we've talked about in this is, honestly, if you stumble across this video, right, and you've made it to this part, just whatever your like ambition is and like your dream is and things like that, you got to go for it. And I know that's so cheesy to say, but I think and I hope that if you go for it, I think the anxiety and all that, the good will outweigh the bad. You just have to get over that. That's the biggest hurdle I think anybody faces, is shutting the voice off in their head that's like, you're gonna fail, like you're gonna be it's not gonna work out for you, but whatever. If you can win that battle, I think it is absolutely worth doing. Because again, like I said, if I would have not talked myself into it, we wouldn't have had this conversation.
I love it, Daniel. Last question. Where can people find you these days if they've not already?
YouTube.com/Daniel Peppers, because I'm great at making up names. Dude, you don't know how many times like people have been like, that's just your name, huh? And I said, yeah. I'm not good
Is
at
it a stage name?
No, that's the thing. No, it's just my name. Because the thing about it is I made it forever ago and I never thought I would do YouTube. So just don't look up my social security number. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't, like, hey, do your best. But yeah, it's it's not a stage name. It's literally it's a great decision that I'm living with now.
It's a good name. I mean, I could see it on a movie poster
Perfect.
starring The Daniel Peppers.
I get, you know what? And I guess that's because, like we talked about this voice this whole time. It's like, dude, you have literally put your name out there for people. The thing about it is, right? Everyone wants to be successful. If you really want to be successful, you're going to get to a certain point. People are probably going to know your name, and it's just kind of like it. I just saved you the work. I just saved you the time. I just put it out there. There you go. But yeah, youtube.com/Daniel Pepper there you go.
Well, Daniel, it's been great. Thank you so much for joining the show today, and I hope you just have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. Hopefully you didn't regret it. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully we had a good time.